Hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Star Wars Mark of Balance. My name is Mark, and today we got another Star Wars story interview. We know how much you love this stuff, and I've got one of my closest friends here. We were originally planning on doing this over Zoom, but he's home from Texas, and it's so much better to have someone in the room to talk about Star Wars than do it over a video call or anything like that. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kyle Henderson is in the building. Introduce yourself, Kyle.
Thanks, Mark, for having me. Like you said, this has been a long time coming. I'm glad I'm able to do it in person because we know how much listeners love to hear the condensed Zoom audio.
Oh, yes.
So I'm glad we can rattle it off, look each other in the eyes. I'll hate your opinions, you'll hate mine. We'll see where we go.
Oh, wow. We're going adversarial. I love it. I'm really excited for this one because I think you have a great voice for this. You had your Twitch channel, but I will say, I think your voice is kind of perfect for podcasting, and we've had some good voices on here, but I'm excited for today's performance.
This may be the start of my broadcasting career, we'll see.
All right, Kyle, so let's start in the beginning. What was your first Star Wars memory? What really drew you to Star Wars? What's your story?
My very first Star Wars memory is... It's like one of those, where were you when you heard that Michael Jackson died kind of things. I remember exactly where I was and what I was doing. I was in my parents' bedroom in my childhood house. Mm-hmm. This must have been 2003, maybe 2004. I was maybe 5 years old.
He's got the dates.
yeah. And my dad had Attack of the Clones on the TV in there, and I remember immediately being infatuated by these guys running around in space with laser swords, fighting each other. And I remember, for whatever reason, one of the memories that sticks out of my head is seeing Anakin's golden hand at the end of the movie when he marries Padme and being really skeeved out by it. I was like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
I remember telling my dad it was a cool movie, and he was like, what if I told you there are 4 other ones just like it? And this is before Revenge of the Sith came out. Yeah. But I was like, I'm hooked.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think Attack of the Clones is really great. A good spot for me because I always connected with the clones, obviously. I remember seeing Phantom Menace, but when I saw Attack of the Clones, the clones themselves hooked me, even though they were basically these faceless soldiers that had 2 or 3 lines.
No, my childish head at the time just thinking wow, these guys look pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly, with all the armor and everything, but... Yeah, Anakin's hand. Let's give him some credit. For 2004 CGI, it looks pretty good.
They did a pretty good job. He had really thin, bony fingers, though.
It was like skeleton hands.
I imagine Padme holding his hand getting married must have been a little bit weirded out by it. A little off-putting. But hey, what you do for love, right?
Yeah. So that was your first memory, you said, and that hooked you there? Or was there something else down the line that was okay, I'm super in now? Did Revenge of the Sith do that for you? Did the video games, anything like that?
Yeah, that's what, like I said, Attack of the Clones, watching it with my dad in his bedroom was the entry point. And I loved it at that point. I think I started watching all the other movies. What I think got me hooked and really into it was seeing Revenge of the Sith in theaters. Because before then, I had seen every other movie and had almost become a bigger fan than my dad was at the time. And Revenge of the Sith came out in 2005, so I must have been 7 or 8 years old. But yeah, seeing Revenge of the Sith in theaters really got me, and then it just took off.
I think that's the natural progression. Just like in Star Wars, the apprentice always surpasses the master. Yeah, you surpassed your dad as a fan.
Oh, I was burying my dad with Star Wars facts at age 8.
Oh, yeah. I know. I definitely passed my dad, and, some part of him I know resents it because he'll be like, that's not really Star Wars. My Star Wars, that's all I care about. We recently got him to finally watch The Mandalorian because... We told him about it. We're like, you'll love it. It's live action. He's like, nah, I'm good with my Star Wars. I don't need to see any of the new Star Wars. And he recently watched it on the plane. We downloaded it for him on his tablet. And he's like, this is pretty good. Why didn't you guys tell me about this earlier? I'm like, we did. And he's like, well, you didn't say it was live action. I'm like, yeah, we did. It wasn't animated. And he was like, well, it's great. It's great. He just doesn't want to admit it.
Yeah, I'll never forget watching season 2 finale of The Mandalorian with my dad. I guess this must have been last winter. And watching him realize what time setting
he didn't even know.
He's like, "What, Luke? How's Luke in this?
Yeah.
Luke's dead."
Oh, so he thought...
First he thought Luke was dead, and then I was like, no. And then he backtracked it.
Okay.
And like 20 minutes later, he was like, Luke wasn't even born yet.
He was just all over the place.
You just missed it on both ends.
So he was watching with the stormtroopers, and it didn't even click that it was still kind of in the same...
Like, oh, this is so cool. He thought Baby Yoda was actually Baby Yoda.
Oh, so he thought this was like 900 years ago.
Yeah.
But they had stormtroopers.
Man, they're going to come out with prequels that take place hundreds of years ago, and Baby Yoda is still not going to be like that.
That's so funny. Well, you bring up Mando, so I want to kind of get your views on, Star Wars TV, kind of, what have you seen? What is your favorite out of Star Wars TV, whether it be animation, Mando, and then what's your most excited for with Star Wars TV moving forward? Because we have so much coming.
Yeah. My experience with Star Wars TV is not as extensive as it is with the films. I remember being really young and watching some of the very first episodes of the Clone Wars on like Cartoon Network.
Yeah.
I remember liking it, and then for whatever reason, I just had stopped watching it. I was a Nickelodeon guy, so Cartoon Network. It was rare to get into the Cartoon Network stuff. Modern TV, it's all been The Mandalorian. For some reason, the live action stuff hooks me more than the cartoony stuff. I do need to go back, and I'm probably going to use that same list that you gave Troy, Pat, and Kevin.
Yeah, the XL
to go through the Clone Wars, and I know how good Rebels is, even if I haven't seen it. When it comes to the future, I know they're going to be exploring the High Republic.
Yeah,
and while that's good and I'm excited for it, I want them to go into the Old Republic.
So you want further back?
Yeah, because I know like, the High Republic is supposed to be like the height of the Jedi. But what you don't see in that era is the Sith running around as much as they were in the Old Republic. In the Old Republic, I feel like it's a very head-to-head battle between the two, and they're almost equal.
That's what I was. Yeah,
there's almost a balance there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
They've done games on the Old Republic,
yeah.
and it all is interesting. I would like to see them explore that on TV.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point. I know I always kind of mention them, but the Old Republic cinematic trailers that they would have for the game back in the day, those were so cool, where like they had all the Sith storming the Jedi Temple, and it was like this crazy CGI battle, and I was like, wow, imagine that on a live action screen of like, Disney Plus or something like that.
And that's what gets me too. I remember watching those cinematics for the first time and thinking that this could borderline pass as a TV show in itself. Like if you like, even that level of animation was really good. And yeah, like you said, just seeing like an army of red lightsabers against an army of blue and green lightsabers and just clashing. It seems like a really cool concept.
Yeah, I haven't read enough of the High Republic books to know really what the premise is. I know that there's this new faction. They're not really like bounty hunters. They're kind of like barbarians, like space barbarians kind of. I forget what they're called, but I read one of the books. And that's kind of like the bad guys. I know they probably get into the Sith a little, but it's definitely not the Old Republic. It's definitely not like army versus army. But yeah, I think that the Old Republic was such like a ripe time for storytelling in Star Wars, especially with Revan and all that. I think there's so many opportunities with it, and I'm not really sure why they haven't. I think they might be too afraid at this point, or they were afraid when they first got Star Wars.
I like to think that it's not that they're afraid, it's that they're cooking something up, and they're just waiting for the right time.
The optimistic view, I like it.
Yeah. I mean, the High Republic is going to be cool because we're going to be able to see Yoda at his height, like his peak.
Yeah, and, no cane.
Yeah, no cane. I mean, even with the cane, I'll get into it later, but Attack of the Clones, Yoda going berserk is pretty cool.
It's true. It's true. He's like hiding it. He's hiding how acrobatic he is.
Oh yeah, like Willy Wonka when he stumbles out of the factory and does a somersault.
Yeah, right. What about we got Slave One in the studio. Actually, PC culture, it might not be Slave One anymore. But we have
Can't be
the
doing
Lego,
that.
we have the Lego Slave One in the building. And with Boba Fett, Book of Boba Fett coming out next month, what are your thoughts on that? I'm very curious about this show, and I want to hear most people's opinion about it.
I think the best word to describe it would be cautiously optimistic.
We love that term here at Star Wars Mark of Balance.
I think the character of Boba Fett and what it looks like they're going to get into is very complex. But at the same time, I don't know how much of Boba Fett you can really explore over the course of a short series.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm excited to see what they'll do with it. I don't think it'll be bad.
Yeah.
But I don't think it'll be the best either.
Do you think it is going to be a short series, or do you think it's going to be a couple seasons? I don't know if they've announced it yet.
I have to think that it'll at least start as just a short series.
Yeah. I hope it's a short series. I hope a lot of the shows that are based on characters are short series. So, like, the Lando show, the Andor show. I hope all of those are short. I don't need 3 seasons of Andor.
Yeah.
I don't need 3 seasons of Lando. I very much hope that they're moving towards, like, short form like Obi-Wan.
I agree. I think exploring characters in a short series is the best way to do it. I think if you extended anything past a single season, you almost jump the shark and you kind of run out of ideas. So yeah, hopefully they'll do a single season of Boba Fett. I'm really excited for the Obi-Wan series. I'm really excited for the Andor series. Everything they're coming out with has me optimistic about the future of Star Wars.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a tease with the Obi-Wan trailer. It was just concept art and just an interview.
God. I mean, they're just going to keep tugging me like that. I'm very much looking forward to that, especially with the announcement that Hayden Christensen's coming back, not just as a voice, but as a character. I think it's going to be great. Yeah,
I think it's going to be like maybe 70-30, optimistically 60-40, Anakin, Obi-Wan, kind of like getting both their stories, not just focusing solely on Obi-Wan, even though I love that. I think there's a lot to explore with Anakin as well after, destroying the galaxy and killing his wife. I think there's some story there.
Yeah, I mean, when you asked like what I'm excited about when it comes to the future of Star Wars, that's something that I forgot about is further exploring Vader, not Anakin, but Vader.
Yeah.
We haven't seen a whole lot of learning about Vader himself besides Rebels and maybe a small portion of Rogue One. You kind of see a little bit.
I think Return of the Jedi was really his best character moments. Yeah.
I think they can go pretty deep with, just the torment of Vader just torturing himself for 20-something years before as far as we know, runs into Obi-Wan again for the first time since their original duel.
We'll see. We're hearing Force visions. We're hearing Force dyad. They don't actually meet in person. They fight in person for real, and it's just semantics that this wasn't actually their first meeting or something like that. So, yeah, we'll definitely see. I think there's such a great opportunity with Vader because a lot of people think like, he killed Padme, and he's like, I've already messed up. I might as well bring order to the galaxy. But I don't think he's doing it out of, he wants to bring order to the galaxy. He's literally in this mental trap of Sidious and just self-loathing.
Yeah,
and I think
and
they
it's
could
so
explore
calculated on Sidious's part. I think they could get so deep with like how he planned it all out because as we know, everything that happens is according to Sidious's plan, right? So. Yeah. It would be cool to see the behind the scenes there.
Yeah, the master plan. So you mentioned Old Republic, so let's talk video games, Kyle. Twitch streamer. What are we what was your
2-week-long Twitch streamer?
Yeah, hey, we all have our stint.
Before I ran out of time.
Yeah, we all have our stint as a Twitch streamer. What was your childhood Star Wars game, and is that your favorite Star Wars game, or did something come out a little bit later that became your new favorite Star Wars game?
I have a few.
Love it.
When I think of the first ever Star Wars game I played, I genuinely think it was the pod racing game.
I've never had it, but yeah.
As cheesy as The Phantom Menace was as a movie, they did make a great racing game for it, at least in my 5 or 6-year-old head. I remember renting that game from Blockbuster more than once. Getting it, beating the game, and then like a couple months later deciding that I wanted to do it again, going back to Blockbuster and getting it a second time. That game was great. Another iconic one that comes to head immediately is the Episode 3, The Revenge of the Sith game.
Yeah.
Um, I think that they can honestly go back and draw on some of the RPG elements of that game and use it to work their way forward. I know they're working on some things for the future, RPG wise, but the Episode 3 game to me was really cool.
That game was pretty brutal. Like, I remember that game having some scenes in it. I was like, that's pretty dark for a kid game. Yeah.
I was younger than 10 years old and I had to kill children.
Right, you had to go in the temple and just kill everyone.
I had to go force choke children.
Yeah.
In a video game.
And the alternate ending you can get if you beat Obi-Wan.
Yes.
What else? Oh, you remember the clones that had like knives? And they, in the Jedi Temple, I think when Obi-Wan goes back, and they have like knives on their wrist.
Ninja clones.
Yeah.
They did some really innovative stuff there. And you reminded me of the alternate ending. You kill Obi-Wan, and then you go around and you kill Sidious at the end.
Yeah.
And you say the galaxy is mine.
Yeah, it was real abrupt.
Which I hardly think would ever happen, because the only reason he did any of that dark side stuff was for Padme, so... You have to think, if he doesn't get his arms and legs chopped off at the end, I don't think he's going to go ruin Sidious's legs.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Very unexpected, but comedic almost.
Yeah, right. It's kind of like the same vein as the prequel films. Like, they're really serious when they do it, but it's like, that's still funny.
Come on, man.
It's still funny. Exactly. So, favorite Star Wars game? I don't know if those two were, or if there is a favorite.
The Revenge of the Sith game is definitely in the running, only because of how my memory is of it. I have a lot of good memories. Besides that, I remember hanging out with childhood friends for hours on end, trying to complete the Lego Star Wars collection. Trying to finish all of the starfighters and all the ships that you could. Yeah. And then Battlefront, obviously. Battlefront, I remember I had a PSP.
Nice.
And I would play Battlefront 1 and Battlefront 2 in the car anytime we were driving anywhere. I must have played the same missions 500 times, and it never got old to me.
Yeah, Battlefront 2 had really cool like story missions. Like, I liked how they like just took stuff from the film and like recorded over with what's his name, something Morrison, the guy that plays Jango Fett and all the clones. He like did a voiceover for it, and it was so cool. I appreciated that so much, and I wish some of the games just did that. Like, I don't know why all these games feel that they need to tell like an original like story. Like, sometimes you can just draw from the film and just kind of add a little context to it. I don't know why.
I mean, the modern Battlefront 2, I think, danced the line in between both creating their own story and drawing from the original. I thought they didn't do it badly.
True.
It was cool to see, like, you run into Luke Skywalker like immediately after the events of Return of the Jedi, and I think that was pretty cool. Yeah. And of course, the opening mission of Battlefront 2 is you as a stormtrooper watching the Death Star explode for the second time. I think that was a pretty cool concept.
Yeah, I think they did a good job for the most part. I think the story was a little interesting, but yeah, I do agree. I did like how they did interweave some of the movies into it. Definitely. All right, so we've talked about a lot of great stuff, and we're gonna do a new thing here on Star Wars Mark of Balance. And regrettably, I did not think of this. This actually came from your guest of honor today, Mr. Kyle Henderson. He came up with this great idea to do a top 5 list of lightsaber hilts, and I immediately was like, that is such a great idea, because I think a lot of the time people get excited more about the color and kind of forget about how elegant and different all these lightsaber hilts are through the TV shows, the movies, the video games. And I think it's a great idea, and we're gonna basically just go back and forth with our top 5 lightsaber hilts. Kyle will go first, giving his 5. I'll give my 5, and we'll go back and forth. We'll give an honorable mention, and then we'll go for our number 1. And after that, we're going to put it up on the Instagram page, and you guys will get to vote who's got the better top 5 lightsaber hilts. And this was not easy for me, Kyle. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned this to you right before we started recording. There are about three that immediately come to my head as my favorites, and then the other few, I really had to do some digging. I had to Google a lot of pictures,
Yeah.
but I think I have my five set.
I love it. So we don't know each other's top five. So these are going to be live reactions of, what he says and what I say. So there may be some disagreements in here, but we're going to do it live. It's going to be awesome. And Kyle, get us started with number 5.
All right, so my fifth pick is Obi-Wan's hilt from the Phantom Menace.
Wow. Okay.
Here's what it looks like in case you forgot.
Oh, okay. We got
It's a,
pictures.
yeah, it's a very clean look.
Yes.
I thought it was a nice lightsaber hilt. Not my favorite, but it's a clean 5.
Clean 5. Okay. Do you want to give our opinions on our picks as we go? Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I I do not enjoy the black accents in all the lightsabers in a Phantom Menace. I think a lot of them. I think Qui-Gon's too. It's like the black hues of it, and it's like little silver and a lot of black. That's not my favorite, Kyle. It's not my favorite.
Here, I actually somewhat agree with you on that because I saw a picture of Qui-Gon's hilt from the Phantom Menace yesterday while I was doing some research, and it honestly looks like it's made of plastic.
Right.
Because there's so much of that, like it looks like black plastic.
Okay. Yeah. That's probably what I'm drawing from. I'm just like, oh, it's plastic. I don't like it.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm coming in number 5. I have Asajj Ventress's dual lightsabers. Now,
pretty good.
Yeah, I'm a real hypocrite because there's like black stripes on hers as well. But what I really like about hers is that they're detachable. They can be attached together to be a double-sided lightsaber, and then they could be broken apart to be 2 one-handed lightsabers. I really like the practicality there, and I also just like the shape of them. I feel like the shape is a good grip to have. And yeah, I really like Asajj Ventress as a character. I know you probably didn't get much of her because you haven't seen Clone Wars, but I really like her character, so I have her at number 5. It's maybe a sleeper.
Very versatile, a very practical lightsaber.
We
many
love
uses.
Yes, we like practical lightsabers here. All right, number 4 for you, Kyle.
Number 4. I think you'll like this pick a little bit better than my last one. Is Darth Sidious.
Okay.
Revenge of the Sith hilt.
Yes.
No black plastic.
Yes.
It's all clean, either gold or silver. It's a very sleek look. There's not many rugged edges.
I like that.
You'll see this as a common theme with my picks. I like the clean hilts.
I respect the clean hilts for sure. That's an awesome pick. I love that zoom in when he pulls it out, when Mace Windu, and it pulls it out and it comes out and there's that gold hue on it.
You realize he's been packing heat the whole time. Snake
under the robe, he's been packing for sure. Awesome. I like that pick. All right, so for my number 4, coming again with another animated show pick, I have Kanan Jarrus from Rebels. Here's it. I know you haven't seen Rebels.
Okay. Yep.
I like the hand guard towards the top, the circle hand guard. I like that. And in Rebels, because he is a runaway Jedi, obviously he was trying to get away from the Order 66.
Yeah.
He hides his lightsaber by having it in 2 separate parts. And when he's in battle, he connects them together and he like locks them, and then he can turn on the lightsaber. So it's a detachable lightsaber that you can hide.
Practical.
It's detachable, and then you can bring it together and ignite it. So I really like his lightsaber, and I also like the green.
It's like the prison shiv of lightsabers.
Yes, yeah. It's a stealthy weapon to sheath. I also like the green. I like the green hue of the grip.
And that's very rare that you get a color besides black, white, or silver gold.
Yeah. So that's my number 4. Number 3, Kyle.
Number 3. Another one that didn't immediately come to mind, but when I saw it, I immediately got attracted to it. Leia's hilt.
Wow.
From The Rise of Skywalker.
That is such a sick pick.
Very clean
so
look.
Good. So good.
All silver and gold. And it has the same emitter look of a couple of the other lightsabers that I'm going to probably be picking later on down the line. But yes, I love that one.
That is such a good pick. Oh my God. I'm actually mad I didn't pick that one. That is such a good pick because you're right. It is so clean and it's all silver. And I think it's so unique, like that heavy-handed like top part.
Yeah.
Kind of. Oh, that is a good pick. I think the reason, like you said, it doesn't come to mind is it's like such a short time you get to see it.
It must
in the
have
movie.
less than 5 minutes
Yeah.
of time on screen.
Yeah.
But in that time, I'll tell you what, it shines.
It makes an impression. That is a great pick. Now, number 3 for me was tough. I was between two. I was between one because of the iconicness of it, and the other one also kind of from the iconicness, but I think the other one I'm gonna go with because it kind of takes from the other one. Sorry, that's probably confusing. But I'm going with Ahsoka Tano's from Clone Wars. They very much remind me of Anakin's. Anakin's lightsaber that gets passed down, the blue one. I like Anakin's a lot, but the thing I like about Ahsoka's is I like that they have the silver on both sides of the emitter, so it kind of looks like it's coming out of the two sides.
Yeah.
And like you said, they're all silver. They have a little bit of a gold hue. They're very classic. I think they draw on Anakin's lightsaber. And yeah, I think, she's kind of built her own fan club, and I really think she has like these iconic looking lightsabers. I did not pick her older ones that are white. I know, that's probably a surprise. The Mando ones that you see.
The katana hilts.
Yeah, I did not pick them. I think the rectangle does not work for holding a lightsaber. I feel like that's not comfy. So
again, it's got to be practical.
It has to be practical in the field of battle. I do respect the lightsaber color, but I think her Clone Wars ones are much cooler. They come in green, and then they change to blue. So
I like that they follow, and it seems to be a theme in the apprentice designing their hilt after their master.
Okay, yeah.
I'll get into it a little bit later.
I felt that was a lead-in or something. Yeah. All right, so
we're down to number two.
Yeah, go for it, Kyle.
All right, number 2, my second favorite lightsaber hilt, is Mace Windu. Mace Windu, it's got a little bit of the black.
Yeah.
But he's got the silver and gold there. I know we're not talking about blades, but obviously he's the only purple blade that we know of, at least in the live-action films.
Yeah.
Your reaction is a little sketchy to me. Huh? What are we pulling out next?
It's hard to do a poker face. Why else do you is that all you liked about it, or
again? And like I said before, it's the theme of the clean look. I like the clean look. Yeah, I just like how it looks.
Yeah. All right. Well, for my number 2, I also have Mace Windu's silver, gold, and black lightsaber. Same reasoning as you. I like how sleek it looks. I love when there's gold in the lightsabers. Like, I like the gold hues.
Using it as an accent, it makes a really good look.
It looks like, they always say lightsabers are elegant weapons. I feel like that gold really brings that across.
Right. There's a craftsmanship.
Yes. The high Coruscant feel.
These hands built these hilts.
Yes. I originally had Sidious's in my top 5 because of the gold, but I was like, no. I think Mace Windu's is the far superior gold accented lightsaber. So I went with Mace Windu's. Obviously, like you said, the purple, unique as well.
Yeah.
But I think his hilt is super awesome. Matches the man, the myth, the legend, Mace Windu.
And well-used black color on the hilt here.
Tasteful.
Yes,
Tasteful black
it doesn't
use.
look like plastic.
Exactly. Yeah, and also looks like it's got good grip.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like a great
it's very
grip
clean. You're not going to drop it.
You're not going to drop it.
Unless your hand gets cut off and then you drop the whole lightsaber.
Unless someone has a tantrum in front of you and cut your hand
off. Kind of sucks. It's the only way you could have lost it, and that's how it went.
Exactly. All right, so, we're down to number 1, but we actually have honorable mentions we're going to do before number 1. Kyle said he had a couple extras, but let's see what you went with for the honorable mention.
My honorable mention, and I know that I don't have as much background on the cartoons, but Darth Maul, or just Maul, his remade lightsaber from Rebels.
Love that. Yep.
It has this odd reconstruction look to it. It looks like it's built from the parts of a few other lightsabers.
Yep.
There's an interesting handguard blade kind of thing that extends off the top.
Yeah, the circle thing. Yep.
And then the middle of it looks like, and this is just my fan theory and also the theory of someone who hasn't watched Rebels, the middle of it looks like it's almost reconstructed from Obi-Wan's Phantom Menace lightsaber.
Oh, let me see it, actually. Yeah, that does look like it matches, kind of. I never even thought of it that way.
So
Nice.
I don't remember for sure whether Obi-Wan's Phantom Menace lightsaber happens to fall down that same chute that Darth Maul does, but fan theory.
There you go. No, I like that. I like that call. Yeah, so basically it's not like a spoiler. So the Inquisitors, they have, if you played Fallen Order, like the
Yes.
Inquisitors have the circular lightsaber like
Right.
thing. My guess is that he took it from an Inquisitor, and that's why it has that almost like crescent moon.
Yes.
He kind of, chopped it off. I really did like his lightsaber too. I was thinking about adding that as well. In Rebels, it's cool because also he uses it as a cane in Rebels, and it looks like a walker.
That was part of my research last night. Found
Yeah.
out he was, again, like Willy Wonka, stumbling out of the factory, just covering the lightsaber in wood,
Yeah.
pretending that it's a cane.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so for my honorable mention, I've been very heavy on the animated lightsaber hilts, but this one I think is the most elegant of all the golds that we've talked about, and that is the Jedi Temple Guard lightsabers. I absolutely love the yellow. I think the yellow is cool. I think their outfits are amazing, but I love that they have the gold, they have the wood, and they retract kind of like they fold up on themselves and then they open up to become a double lightsaber.
Yep.
Yeah, I really like them. You don't get to see them too much. You see them a little in Clone Wars, but like we've reiterated a lot, the gold just says something.
It's a statement piece.
It's a statement. And just the fact that they're like so mystical, like they just guard the Jedi Temple.
Yeah.
And you don't really see their faces.
The wood accents that I'm seeing is just it gives a sense of almost like a dojo protector, right? Like
yes.
you're using one of those, Donatello Ninja Turtles like beaten sticks kind of thing.
The nunchucks.
Yeah.
The beaten sticks. Exactly.
The giant staff.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a good one too. So yeah, that's my honorable mention, and we've made it to number 1, Kyle. What's your number 1?
My number 1, it's a 2-for-1 here because they look very similar.
Oh, okay.
I mentioned earlier that I liked the idea of an apprentice redesigning their hilt after the master.
I think I got.
And so my number 1 is both Luke's from Return of the Jedi and Obi-Wan's from Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope.
Yes.
They look very similar.
Yes.
They have that same like heavy emitter look that Leia's has.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to pick between the two, honestly, I think Obi-Wan's looks a little bit cleaner. But yes, 2 iconic lightsabers. They look good, and their use is obviously insanely important.
Me and Kyle on the same page for the top 2.
How about that?
I've got Obi-Wan's lightsaber at number 1. I said the same thing. I was like, it's so similar. Luke has like such a similar lightsaber. What I don't like about Luke's is that little tip to it. That little tip. I love everything else about it. I think that little skinny part up by the head is so practical for holding the lightsaber. I think it's so
great
practical.
use cases for these lightsabers.
I think it's unique. It's a unique shape. It's not just like a block or a cylinder. It's a unique curvy shape. I love the iconicness of it. Obi-Wan's lightsaber, you see it all the time. I never thought of it that way, but I think that's such a good point with the apprentice like making their lightsaber like their masters. Obi-Wan taught him. So I think that's another cool addition to the lore of the lightsaber. But yeah, I got Obi-Wan's at number 1 as well.
How interesting that neither of us picked the Anakin, Luke, Rey lightsaber hilt.
Yeah.
And as iconic as it is, something about all the rest that we picked stuck out a little bit more.
I know. I almost felt guilty not putting in there, but I'm like, no, I can't force myself to put it in just based on what people want me to put in there.
Yeah.
I'm going to put in what I think is best. And, okay, so let's talk about it. What do you think makes it not a top 5 lightsaber hilt for you?
I think psychologically, it's because we see it so often.
Right.
And not to get too deep into what my movie rankings will eventually be, but
those are coming up.
Seeing that lightsaber in the hands of a character who is associated with the sequel trilogy might take away from it a little bit.
Wow.
But
Wow.
I think the main part is that we see it so often everywhere that we're almost attracted to the other ones.
You don't want to pick the most popular one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me that's a big portion of it. I think that's a good call. And yeah, I think that's probably actually the biggest part, part, like why I didn't pick it.
And honestly, it wouldn't have been my next pick either. I think if I had to take another one, I would have done Vader's.
Okay.
I think Vader's hilt, although very similar.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I don't know. I think the look of Vader's is a little bit more mean.
Yeah,
almost.
I was gonna say the black
It's
kind
a
of
little bit. You can show like the dark side transition. You know, Anakin goes from the clean silver lightsaber to this like darker one with some black accents to it. I like the Vader's hilt too.
Yeah, I do like the shine of the Anakin Skywalker, but we're not here for shine. It's got to have the whole package. All right, well that was so much fun. Thank you for suggesting that. I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I hope you guys put your votes in.
Hope you guys picked the true winner here.
And that's not biased at all. That's right. You have to pick the true winner, which, you know, I think I know, but, you know, it's up to you guys. I do too. Yeah, I think Kyle knows as well. But now we've got to the moment of truth, Kyle. That was the easy top 5. But now you got to go to your Star Wars movie rankings.
I got to pull a whole 9 out here.
Yeah. So you're not including Solo and Rogue One?
No. Okay. No, I'm doing the Skywalker saga.
That's fine. Okay. All right, so from the bottom, here we go.
Starting from the very bottom.
On the roller coaster we go.
I know some people share the same opinion. Some will condemn me for it. The worst movie of the Skywalker saga is The Force Awakens.
Wow.
I think, not that on its own it's a bad movie.
Yes.
But I have a few notes here.
Mm-hmm. I like it.
Tell me if you've heard these plot points before. Important information is given to a droid by an important character. The droid ends up on a desert planet after the important character is captured. The droid runs into the protagonist on the desert planet. The droid and the protagonist, along with secondary characters, escape the desert planet on the Millennium Falcon. Protagonist is taught about the Force by an old mentor character from the previous trilogy. Characters meet with the rebel army fighting against a Nazi-esque empire, and they learn that a superweapon is being built by said empire. The superweapon is tested and blows up planet or planets that are important to the main characters. The rebels find a weakness to said superweapon. Old mentor character is killed while sabotaging superweapon by antagonist with whom they share a past. All while the protagonist watches and screams, "No!" Ace pilot hits a buzzer beater shot to destroy the superweapon. Tell me where you may have heard this before.
Now, why did you put A New Hope at your number 9 spot?
Spin cycle.
That was incredible. I absolutely love that. Usually people stop in the beginning, but you took it all the way to the end.
That's just what came off of the top of my head.
I respect that so much. That's part of my reason it's much lower on my rankings, even though I like the movie itself. Yeah. It's fun to watch. But wow, yeah, that was excellently written and delivered.
No, I mean, and like I said, if A New Hope doesn't exist, Force Awakens is a great movie.
Absolutely.
But we waited, 11 years between Star Wars movie releases? I think Revenge of the Sith was 2005.
Yeah.
And Force Awakens was 2016. We waited 11 years to see something we already have seen.
Yeah.
And that was a little bit disappointing.
All right. Well, that's a respectful pick right there, then. All right, so number 8.
I'll move on to number 8. I think this one's a little bit more agreeable. Phantom Menace.
Wow.
Phantom Menace is bad.
Oh, wow.
I'll tell you what. It has a few saving graces.
Okay.
The score.
Yes. Yeah.
I think in all of the prequel movies, John Williams goes off.
He does.
In the score.
He does his thing.
Duel of the Fates, obviously, is my second favorite soundtrack song in the entire Skywalker saga. Mm-hmm. And then it's the first time that we really see like a flashy lightsaber duel that we know the prequels for.
Right.
The original trilogy is, and George Lucas has said this, he wanted the lightsabers in the original trilogy to feel heavy and almost resemble like classic sword fighting.
Right.
I like where the Phantom Menace and the other prequel movies went with the flashy lightsaber duels.
Yeah.
Obviously, Maul against Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan with Duel of the Fates playing in the background is iconic.
Yeah.
But
Moment.
not good enough to get the Phantom Menace any higher than number 8 on the list.
All right. Number 7.
Number 7 is The Rise of Skywalker.
There we go. I like that.
I think The Rise of Skywalker, I'll start with the good. The send-off for Leia, I think, is really good. I honestly got choked up in the theater seeing Chewbacca's reaction to finding out that Leia had died.
Yeah.
I think they did a pretty good job there. That's about where the good things end.
Just that one scene got Kyle hooked. Wow.
I think The Rise of Skywalker butchered the work that Rian Johnson did on The Last Jedi. I think Rian Johnson set up a lot in The Last Jedi that was walked back in The Rise of Skywalker. For example, the idea of anybody being able to be gifted with the Force is set up at the end of The Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker walks it back entirely, giving Rey a Sidious name, and then it becomes the Skywalker name, and I can go on for days. Like, I genuinely laughed at the end of The Rise of Skywalker when Rey and Kylo Ren or Ben are just passing off revives to each other.
It was so
like just
jarring.
Trading off, like, I'll bring you back to life, you bring me back to life. And if like the entire first 6 movies were based on the idea of not being able to bring somebody back to life.
Kyle, I'm here with you. I got you. I hear you.
Like I said, I can go on for days, but I'll leave it there.
All right. Well, that sounds like it should be lower, but all right. No, I got you. All right. So number 7?
6. Down to 6.
6. Yeah.
I have Attack of the Clones.
Wow. Doing your first love dirty like that.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. It goes to show how good Star Wars is. If Attack of the Clones book got me into it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Let's see. The good things about Attack of the Clones. It's very important and good character development for Anakin. Although it's a little bit weird because it's like this I fell in love with my babysitter thing.
Yeah.
That starts in A Phantom Menace.
Yeah. The
score, again, John Williams in the prequels, he goes crazy. The flashy lightsaber duels.
Couple, yeah.
There's a few of them. It's the first time that you see a series of Jedi all fighting together.
Yeah.
In like the Colosseum on Geonosis.
That's a moment, yeah.
And I kind of alluded to this earlier in the recording, but Yoda going berserk at the very end. Pulling off the Willy Wonka, walking in with the cane, dropping it, and just becoming an absolute acrobatic genius.
I love the force battle they have. Yeah. He's like catching lightning, throwing it back.
Yes.
I love it.
It's great. And it's the first time that you really see Yoda athletic, I lack of a better word, athletically capable.
Yes.
And using the force beyond lifting the X-Wing out of the water.
Definitely. All right. Number 5.
Number 5, The Last Jedi.
All right.
I think The Last Jedi is more innovative than The Force Awakens and The Rise of Skywalker were combined. I think if The Rise of Skywalker doesn't walk half of it back, it's looked on as a much better movie. I think I would have it much higher than 5.
Right.
If Rian Johnson had directed The Rise of Skywalker.
Continued that, yeah.
There's still a couple of those like copy paste elements in there. I was worried sitting in the theater and watching the whole protagonist and antagonist have a force connection. Protagonist willingly gives themselves up and gets captured by the antagonist. Antagonist brings the protagonist in front of his master.
Okay.
Yeah. Protagonist finds out that the rebel fleet is being led into a trap.
Throne rooms, man. Throne rooms.
And then, I think Rose and Finn, that whole sequence was really bad. I don't like Rose as a character, but that whole casino planet thing was boring to me. But again, besides that, I think Rian Johnson was really innovative about it. Ending the movie on an idea that anybody can be gifted with the Force, seeing the kid pick up the broom.
So important.
Yeah, I thought that was a really good thing.
Yeah, I think the throne room scene, even though it does, and you obviously know this, but even though it does have the same premise, I think it's done wildly different.
Yes,
and so much more impressive.
And that's why I think of it higher
Yeah.
than The Force Awakens, because the last thing I expected was for Snoke to get chopped in half.
That was crazy.
In the middle of that.
Crazy.
And then obviously the sequence of Kylo Ren and Rey fighting against, what do you call those guys?
They're
the Sith.
Praetorian guards or something?
Praetorian guards,
yeah,
that's it.
Yeah,
Yep.
something like Roman time guards. Yeah, exactly. Love it. All right, number 4.
Number 4, A New Hope.
I can't tell you how many times number 4 lands at number 4.
Yep.
So many people put it at number 4.
And obviously it's the classic. It's the original Star Wars. You can't really have it any higher than 4. Characters are great. You get the original Star Wars theme from John Williams. There's not a whole lot more that I could say about it besides it's just the classic.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong with it.
You can't go wrong with it. No. And it has its iconic moments that just get copied by other movies.
Can't believe they did that.
Love it. Okay, number 3.
Moving on, number 3. And this is something that a lot of people have at number 1. I have The Empire Strikes Back at 3.
Okay.
I think you see Vader be a real badass for the first time. Lando being introduced. I think Lando's a great character. Obviously, you get the iconic "I am your father" quote. Seeing the whole... There's a lot of build-up in the movie, and I think they traverse it really well. It's very well paced with Luke being on Dagobah, training with Yoda. Yeah. Just all around a good movie.
Yeah, I agree. Number 2.
Number 2, I have Return of the Jedi.
Nice.
The conclusion of the original trilogy. Ewoks.
Ewoks.
I know some people aren't a fan of Ewoks. I think they're great.
Haters. Absolute haters.
I like the Ewoks. You find out that Luke and Leia are siblings. And as if they couldn't overdo the twist that you get at the end of Empire Strikes Back, you find out that not only is Vader Luke's father, but Leia is his twin sister.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, and that all leads into the final battle between Luke and Vader. I think the score during that battle, when Luke goes berserk and gets all pissed off because Vader finds out that Luke has a twin sister, the score that goes over the very end of that battle, I think, is really, really good and very emotional.
Yeah, I think it's called the Emperor, I think. I think that's what it's called. It's amazing, yeah.
It's awesome.
I love the Leia thing because they alluded to it in Empire Strikes Back. Like, she has the Force, too. Like, she sensed Luke when he was, he needed help. I like that they alluded to it, and they just were like, oh, guess what? Leia's also related in this family triangle.
And, of course, Yoda saying, there is another.
Yeah,
and everyone for, I guess it was 2 years in between the movie, was like, who's the other one?
Who's the other one? Oh gosh, who's the other one? All right, and well, if we're all listening to a Star Wars podcast, I would hope we know that one hasn't been mentioned yet.
For those listening at home,
number 1.
There is only one left, and that is Revenge of the Sith. I have in all capital letters under Revenge of the Sith in my notes, score.
Score.
John Williams goes so deep in his bag for Revenge of the Sith. All throughout the movie, especially at the very end, the sequence between Obi-Wan and Anakin, and then simultaneously Yoda and Sidious. I think the music is so good. The best out of any of the movies. I think Revenge of the Sith has maybe my top 3 songs in the entire Skywalker saga, with maybe the exception of Duel of the Fates being in there.
I'm guessing Anakin's betrayal.
Is emotional as hell. Battle of the Heroes obviously is so good. And then the lightsaber duels. We had never ever seen more than one big lightsaber duel in a Star Wars film up until that point, and you're getting one every 20 minutes.
Yeah,
in Revenge of the Sith. And they're all, as I mentioned earlier, those flashy, acrobatic lightsaber duels with a giant exclamation point getting put on Anakin versus Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've watched those scenes of that battle. On top of that, you see the birth of Vader. and you
Love
get
that
to
scene.
it's the first look you get at the realistic, tormented Vader at the very end. You don't really see a whole lot of that in the original trilogy. In the original trilogy, he's more of like this straight-faced.
Is she all right?
Just scream. He breaks the entire room apart while Sidious is smiling next to
While
him.
John Williams is going crazy.
Oh my god! Yeah, John Williams is going nuts.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Revenge of the Sith really is it's the tragedy of Anakin Skywalker, and I think that's really what the entire Skywalker saga is about. So in essence, Revenge of the Sith is Star Wars.
Yeah, I love it. I have two takeaways from that. One, everyone from our generation, everyone's list always has Revenge of the Sith at number 1 or 2.
Yep.
And I think it just speaks to the generational thing. Like, we all, grow up with it, and we all respect that movie, even though it probably didn't get its respect when it came out. It stood the test of time, and now it's really cemented as this moment. And the second thing is John Williams' score. I've done this thing where I've watched the movie and I'm like, is there any point in this movie where there is no music playing in the background? And I think I counted maybe 5 minutes in the whole 2.5 hours. There's no music playing in the background. It's just incredible how detailed the score is, how different the score is. It's yeah. I'm glad you brought up the scores within all of your rankings. It's awesome.
I mean, you get every emotion in the book out of the score of that movie. Also, I mean, like you said, it's a generational thing. I think for a lot of us, that was the first Star Wars movie we saw in theaters.
Yeah, I would agree.
So obviously, there's a really good memory tied to it.
That's an awesome list. It's a unique list. As always, I don't agree with everyone's list. I don't agree with some rankings, but I appreciate...
It'll be a great day when someone walks in here and all 9 line up with all of your 9.
That would be a good day for me, but I think it would be a bad day for Star Wars, because everyone should have their own rankings. But everyone knows mine is the most superior. It's just everyone has their opinions around mine, yes. No, that was awesome. That was a great list. I love the detail. I love adding the scores in, because we both know we appreciate the scores a lot. So I love that those were included. And yeah, how long did it take you to write that down? To take those notes? It seems like you really went in depth for that.
To make the list itself took me about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It was jotting down. I don't want to sound terrible, but for a couple of them to write down enough good things where it didn't sound like I was ripping them apart.
Yeah. Yeah.
But and I think it speaks a lot to the Star Wars franchise itself, is that there's no one movie that everybody thinks is the worst, and there's no one movie that everybody agrees is the best.
Yes,
so
that's a good point.
It's got to be good across the board for everybody to have a varying ranking.
That's true. Yeah, I think with a lot of other franchises, there's a clear bottom tier ones, and with this one, you can have a couple different ones. Yeah, I think that's a good point. But Kyle, this has been excellent. I love the new segments we brought in. I love the way we ended it. I think we talked about a lot of good stuff on the front end. Thank you so much for coming. I'm glad we did this in person. This was definitely a lot better than any Zoom call that we could have had to do this. But thank you for coming on. If you have anything else to say to the people, stage is yours. Go for it.
Thanks for listening, everybody. I can't wait to come back, become a recurring guest.
Oh, he's already plugging himself. But yes, thank you for listening.
Check out my Twitch channel.
Premium subscribe. But yes, thank you all for listening. Follow me on Instagram at @star_wars_ mark of balance. Interact with our lightsaber hilt rankings. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy, and may the Force be with you. I don't know.